I've been a long-time FPS fan throughout the years, but if I had to call myself a fan of one type of FPS the most, it'd probably be the arcade shooter, the fast respawns in a tight arena where your goal is to go at it again and again. There's been a lot of arcade shooters throughout the years, but as of more recently, the arcade shooter has fallen a bit to the wayside. The more popular battle royales and objective-based shooters of the recent years have kept the mainstream spotlight for a while. And while I do enjoy quite a few of those games, hell, this channel wouldn't exist without them, I can't help but feel something missing when I finish playing them. Something I could only find in a proper, old-school arcade shooter. There are actually quite a few arcade shooters on the market right now, but none of them really hit that same feeling. Halo and Call of Duty are still around, but their newer games too aren't hitting that sweet spot that I am looking for. If I remember right, the last game that I felt that way about had to be...
Stand by for Titanfall.
Titanfall 2 was an arcade shooter developed by Respawn Entertainment and released nearly a decade ago. Wait, what, a decade? No, that can't be... Holy shit, I'm old. Before I retire to the old folks home, I want to take the time to look back at this game in full and find out what it is about Titanfall 2 that hits my arcade shooter sweet spot, which we will now shorten to ASSS for the rest of the video. So, let's find out why TF2 hits my ass so hard. Jesus, did I really write that? There are two major things to understand about Titanfall before we hop in. Number one, the Titanfall games are movement shooters, which are games that take inspiration from traditional platformers and creating a fun movement kit for you to use as you play. Playing as the pilot, wall riding, and double jumps are the key to your experience, and help to make you feel more powerful from the grunts and specters in your way. Everything from the weapons, tacticals, enemies, and map designs are built to incorporate your movement into it. And then number two, Titans. What, did you expect something different? No, it's in the title! Titanfall 2 lives on the balance of its two gameplay styles, the high-speed movement shooting of the pilot, and the shift to intense mech versus mech action in the Titans. Add on tactical abilities, kill streaks, enemy AI, and more, and you have one of the most complicated arcade shooters to learn as you start. So it's important for Titanfall 2 to be able to teach new players these parts of the game without it feeling too jarring. So let's try to learn the game and the campaign. The original Titanfall was criticized pretty heavily for its lack of a real campaign in 2014, when most FPS games still had single-player experiences on the regular. It was genuinely a big detracting point for a lot of reviewers and players alike. So Respawn decided that for Titanfall 2, they'd make a campaign that nobody would ever forget. Holy shit, this movement is so cool!
Run, puny humans!
Oh my god, this is awesome! Whee! BT! You could say that the campaign had an impact on me. It's crazy to me that we went from literally the worst way to experience the campaign to absolute peak! And if you somehow are watching this video and don't know what peak is like, let me explain. In Titanfall 2, you play as Jack Cooper, a militia rifleman trained to be a pilot under the tutelage of Captain Lastimosa. But after a disastrous drop onto the planet of Typhon, Jack must take on the role of pilot and work with the deceased Lastimosa's Titan, BT-7274, to prevent the IMC from acquiring a power capable of destroying the frontier. It's a classic soldier in the wild, with a man and machine paired together to fight off the evil corporations and mercenaries they hired to kill them. The TF2 campaign as a whole features 9 total missions, with a total runtime of roughly 4 hours.
It's less than 5 hours!
5 hours! 5!
Now, hold on. I know that's pretty short for a campaign, but Titanfall 2's 5 hours of runtime is a prime example of quality over quantity. And that quality shows up the most in one part of the campaign. The first 3 levels seek to slowly introduce you into the rhythm of Titanfall's gameplay. You have a completely isolated space for the tutorial level to practice every part of pilot gameplay, and a special gauntlet to take on to showcase your improvement.
I fucked up. I fucked. No, just going. Yes!
That was my
Once you have pilot gameplay familiar in your mind, the first real mission gives you the action with a simple rhythm. Do a bit of movement, get into a fight. A bit more movement, another fight. Letting you just enjoy the core mechanics before introducing you to Titan gameplay at the end. And then Mission 3 puts it all together, mixing Titan and pilot gameplay. Bouncing through rooms as a pilot before hopping back into BT to stomp through the bigger areas. It's a great level with a nice balance of gameplay to keep you interested in the action. In fact, if every level was in this style, it generally would be a good campaign by itself. But Titanfall 2 doesn't stop with just the straightforward levels. Instead, it asks the question, how do we elevate it? The next level looks to be the same as before, and then BAM! BT gets taken. Now you're hopping through a factory line to get him back. Immediately after, you're investigating the IMC's facilities by manipulating time itself. Hopping to the next, you're using an arc gun to power your way forward. Jumping across literal flying ships, storming the beaches like it's Transformers Normandy. That's such a dumb line. Every single level puts you somewhere new, somewhere exciting, and they never outlast their welcome as they send you on to the next big thing. It's exactly what an FPS campaign should be. It doesn't need to be a huge open world or a 40-hour experience. Just a good, straightforward journey, where no time is wasted from getting you to the action you want to play. Okay, pork chops, slow it down, reel it back in. You've been glazing this a little too much. All right. In fairness, I should take some time to say that while Titanfall 2's campaign is amazing, it isn't perfect. The story of Jack and BT, while emotional at times, isn't that good. It's pretty generic overall, with a standard stop the bad guy from getting the super weapon plotline, with most of the interesting stuff being the interactions between BT and Jack, which, to be fair, can be pretty fun.
Are you okay, pilot?
Hell yeah. What a hot streak.
Your vitals do not indicate a temperature problem. Do you wish for me to investigate this hot streak sensation further?
Funny, BT. You're funny.
Apparently.
But come on, his name is Jack Cooper. Seriously, who's the next protagonist? John Smith? The mercenary group you fight throughout the game, the Apex Predators, are also pretty underwhelming. Most of them are plain forgettable, and their boss fights are even less remarkable. They're just Titan fights with extra HP most of the time. Only one fight between them was good in my opinion. You know which one. The skies belong to me. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. The rest though, they're pretty dull. But despite that, Titanfall 2 still stands as one of my favorite campaigns of all time, and is something I've been missing lately. With more games pushing into the free-to-play sphere, the campaign experience is often the first to get the boot when moving towards it. It just isn't reasonable for newer games to justify investing into a single-player campaign if there isn't a price tag in front of it. It's not entirely wrong for these newer games to forego their campaigns either. It is incredibly costly and time-consuming to make them, and when most of your revenue will come from the multiplayer anyways, it's easier to cut the costs. At one point in the gaming industry, it was practically an expectation for games to have a single-player experience. So much so that Titanfall originally was criticized for not having it. But nowadays, that isn't expected anymore. And while that doesn't make other games worse for not having it, it is a part of the FPS experience that I truly wish to see more of. Campaigns help make a game that's well past its expiration date still be a fun experience, even when the servers have long since shut down.
Pilot Cooper, I have located a McDonald's 20 clicks from our location.
Didn't I say no more fast food, BT?
We will require sufficient calories to complete our mission. It is the closest location where we can fulfill our needs.
Alright. Well, what do you want from McD's, BT?
I would like a Happy Meal.
Now, let's get on to the multiplayer. This is a pretty old game now, and most people have moved on to Apex Legends or other games, so I'm expecting that finding a game will take a while. Oh! Despite 8 years passing by, TF2 still has a pretty consistent multiplayer base to play with. No, not that TF2, the other one. Alright. It genuinely took me no more than a few minutes at any time to find a lobby in the game. And while I often played against the same people, I still had consistently full lobbies of players, which made sure I got the fullest from my time in the multiplayer. And what's the multiplayer like? It's fun. What, did you expect me to have a long essay on Titanfall 2's multiplayer gameplay? What am I, an essay channel? Oh. Your average game of TF2 goes like this. You drop into the map and fight the enemy pilots to build up your Titan, killing grunts and hopping around like it's your own personal playground. And then the first Titan drops in. Your playground has suddenly shrunk as you now have to play around the giant mechs populating the space. A cat and mouse game as you try to fight back until you can get your own Titan. And that's when we hit the final phase of the multiplayer game, the crazy part. Pilots, Titans, and everything in between all together in one blend of mayhem that can only be ended with a ship going to nowhere. And when you've either wiped the enemy or escaped on the dropship, you finish up by leveling up your account and unlocking new abilities, weapons, and gear in the process, as well as earning credits you can use to unlock things early or buy cosmetics. After that, we go again. An average game is chaotic, constantly ramping up in intensity until the grand finale. But it can be pretty hard to keep up with, and your first game is gonna look something like this. Here's a fun fact for you. When you play a game that is well past its peak, you will find that those who are left playing it are those who are, on average, pretty good at the game. And that means when you come in after not playing it for over half a decade, you'll find that those same players are a bit better than you. Like a lot better than you. Like, my God, let me play the game! The learning curve can be incredibly hard early on, so if you're looking to play after watching this, let me give you some tips first. Stop aiming down sights when shooting close range. Play around the edge when you're in your Titan, and always shoot whatever pilot you see. These tips are sponsored by the Holo Pilot Mains Association. You have the option of playing with 7 different tacticals in multiplayer. A grappling hook, a kunai that scans enemies through walls, a stim speed boost, an invisibility cloak, an amped wall for cover, a phase shift for all the Wraith mains, and a decoy for all the idiots like me. On top of that, you have 7 different Titans to call in during your games. The all-rounder Ion, the marksman Tone, the close quarters flamer Scorch, the heavy, Legion, the weeb Ronin, and Monarch, the only good one in the game.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer?
Playing multiplayer means finding your place in the mayhem, whether it's grappling across the map to hit that sick Kraber shot, burning the world to the ground with Scorch, or cloaking in with an Eva to backshot enemies. Compared to Apex nowadays, Titanfall 2 feels so fast-paced. You're zooming all over the place, constantly wiping enemies off the map. And when you meet another player, the interaction is done in seconds. The TTK is so short, you have so little time to react, but it doesn't feel bad for long since you respawn so quickly, constantly thrown back into the action with very little downtime. And even if you're being stomped by a Spitfire using AWOL user, you fucking dick, you can still contribute by having fun engaging with the AI. No, the good AI. I can hop into a game and enjoy everything TF2 has to offer in one match. And knowing that I can do it all over again in the next, it's fun. Well, mostly. I've mainly been talking about one game mode so far in the multiplayer. Attrition, the team deathmatch style mode. But there are plenty of other modes in Titanfall 2, and a lot of them aren't my cup of tea. You see, my fun in Titanfall comes mainly from the freedom it gives me. The movement adds so much to the game that it feels wrong not to be able to bounce around all over the place, or roam the map as a Titan. And it's also important to do since not moving around as a pilot is an easy way to get killed. So when a game mode asks me to sit still in a single spot, I find it harder to enjoy. The objective-based modes in the game, in general, I don't like. It feels like I am hindering myself anytime I try to play the objective in these modes, and God help you if a Scorch is holding a hardpoint or a stim pilot is rushing your flag. Other modes like Live Fire, Pilot v Pilot, or Last Titan Standing are fun in their own way, but I genuinely feel that the best game mode in the game has always been Attrition. It just works like nothing else does. There is one more game mode to cover, and that is Frontier Defense, a tower defense style mode where you use traps, turrets, and your own Titans to defend against waves of enemies. This game mode is fun. I don't have anything else to say about it. Nothing at all. Nothing. None. Look, okay, I didn't want to mention it that much, but I have to be frank. I love the pilot gameplay leagues above the Titan gameplay. The movement, the weapons, the tacticals and grenades, how you engage with enemies all feel so good as a pilot. But when I hop into a Titan, I honestly don't enjoy it as much. It feels like I was Dante from Devil May Cry and suddenly turned into a boss Dante fights instead. So when Frontier Defense starts off with pilots, I thought, hey, this could be cool. Only to find that most of the gameplay happens in your Titan, since you're fighting against wave after wave of Titans. You only play as the pilot when you have to repair a turret or your Titan gets destroyed. But being the only squishy character amongst this is damn near suicide. It's fun, but man, I wish it had some tighter indoor sections for pilot-only gameplay, or just more variety outside the Titan in general. You may think that my criticisms of the multiplayer may make it seem like I don't enjoy it as much as other shooters, but I genuinely really enjoy the multiplayer. Titanfall 2 in general is one of the best first-person shooters I've ever played, standing right next to the likes of Halo and Bulletstorm. Yeah, Bulletstorm, you got a problem, bub?
So, you wanna make out?
Titanfall 2 is a game I love to open up every so often, to replay the campaign or just do a few rounds of multiplayer. Wait, did I say every so often? Sorry, I meant to say every few years. FPS games can be tons of fun that you can play for thousands of hours on end. But games, when played too much, can really burn you out. Especially competitive games where success or failure change how you feel at the end of the match. A game you loved for years can become your worst nightmare. That is, unless you take a break from it. Putting a game down to try out other things, new genres, or even just others in the same kind can help you keep from letting that burnout ruin a game you love. It could even give you a fresh perspective on it, making you appreciate parts of the experience you never did before. Games like Titanfall 2, Halo, or COD especially need those breaks, since they can be so addicting, constantly tempting you with just one more game to end the night. They're like candy, so sweet and tasty, but too much of it will rot you to the core. Which makes me realize why I feel different about most modern FPS games. We don't stop playing them. Many of the biggest FPS games today feature a live service model, with battle passes, daily challenges, and limited time events. They keep you from taking breaks because you don't want to miss out on progression or something new. And that's all without mentioning the competitive side. So many games nowadays seek to bring high-level competition into them, grinding ranked modes and climbing competitive ladders. If you stop playing, you'll fall down that ladder and no longer be among the best. So we keep playing and playing until those games have rotted in our minds into the worst things imaginable. But with Titanfall 2, I didn't. When I've eaten my fill of Titanfall 2, it doesn't seek anything else from me. It gives me an experience I will never forget and bids me farewell until the next time I feel the craving for it. My ass, I actually wrote that, oh my god. My arcade shooter sweet spot was never really about the arcade shooter. It was about the feeling Titanfall 2 left me. A feeling of just having fun and moving on. And 8 years later, I got to play it again and feel the exact same way. So if you're somebody like me, who sometimes feels lost in the games they play today, don't be afraid to put them away for a bit and try something you haven't done in a while, or maybe something new entirely. If you do, I hope you enjoyed as much as I have enjoyed playing TF2 once again. And if you go back to the modern day games afterward, I hope you find the fun in them again just like I have.
Stand by for Titanfall.
Wait, this game doesn't have Titans in it. Wait!